Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. We are back after a full week break there, and the All-Star break had a pretty good video there. If you caught that with the All-Star selections that we made, got the team skills challenge correct. We got Mac McClung in the dunk contest. Obviously, the East was a nice win there as well. So continue to follow along. We've got best bets in this one and our play of props that we're bringing you each and every weekday this year. Also want you to head to thelines.com and use everything that we have up on the site right now, including that prop finder tool that we use each and every day to make sure that we're bringing you the best odds available from all of these books, giving us bets in the NBA. Nate, welcome back, my friend. Let's get right into your first best bet for tonight, or for tomorrow night, rather.
Yeah, nice to get into some games where the players will be trying after the All-Star game. But, I mean, yeah, we did manage to hit a few there. I don't know how many you want to take credit for with the East winning and all. But, yeah, I mean, Orlando at Cleveland is a game that you expect some intensity here. I was taken aback to see plus 7.5 for the Magic, so I will grab that there. And full unit, full confidence that the Magic can cover that number. I actually think they're going to cover and not win. So if you want to double down and take Cavs to win by 1 to 10 points, maybe a quarter unit on that or less, like that could both hit. And then you're kind of middling this and just really cashing in on the Cavs being able to pull this out. But the Magic kind of being cover machines when you give them this big of a spread. I mean, 60% as dogs since last season. They are 22-5 this season when they're on equal rests with the opponent, and 68% in that situation since last year. And that's important because, I mean, they're part of the spread being baked in is like, oh, they lost by 27 at home to Cleveland last time they faced them. It's that was so situational. That was Franz. That was a back-to-back after Franz came back and was on a minutes limit, and they're missing so many other guys. And now with a week off, I don't know if this has happened all season that they're supposed to have everybody available, like Fultz, Wendell Carter. Suggs is back from his injury. Gary Harris is available. Lots of guys to throw at Donnie Mitchell. Paolo was playing probably the best ball of his career before the break, distributing, facilitating that offense. Like they covered in 8 of their last 10 before the break. And they covered playing their patented slow-paced, low-scoring style, low total for this one as well. Last 2 times they played Cleveland, it was at about a 90 pace. So it's just hard for me to imagine the Cavs like running away with this one by double digits when you're going to play this slow. I mean, them in their last 5, 95 pace, 1-3 against the spread as home favorites. The only cover against the Kings on the 7th game of their 7-game road trip and a 3rd game in 4 nights for the Kings. So, I mean, the Cavs, there was some reintegrating, getting Garland back up to full speed, getting Mobley in there. We know they've had issues at times. Like, they're still winning games for sure, but they have just not been a powerhouse that you're going to expect to walk over a really good team by double digits.
Yep, 100%. Let's keep finding these moments where the Magic are being undervalued. I that's the story of the game here is what you started with. Like, we've got all these players playing. I was looking at the injury report, not the official injury report yet, but we were obviously looking at a couple other sites that have, some pretty updated injuries, including CBS and even ESPN. And all of them are, looking at this Magic team as like, everybody's playing. There's no reason to not play everybody on this squad now. And when you have, your full complement of guards in there for the Magic, like that's their biggest hole, right? Is who's going to continue to be a playmaker, who's going to make sure that this offense doesn't get incredibly stagnant and that Paolo's getting good shots and good looks in space, etc. And now they've got that. And so, yeah, I mean, as good as Cleveland is, there's got to be a bit of regression to the mean as we come down the stretch from being a team that just won 18-20, 17-19. Like, it had a pretty easy schedule. It's going to get a lot tougher moving forward. And the Magic, like, the only times that we can really find that they just don't look like the same team and are just not the same on defense, most importantly, is when they just don't have all their dudes in there. And I think it'll even be a little bit more free-flowing. Obviously, Wendell Carter Jr. on offense is a big play for them. So let me go to a game that I really like the over in. This is definitely, my favorite play of the day for sure. It's why I'm bringing it to you first here. We got the Clips, and they're taking on the Thunder in OKC. And this is the totals at 236.5. I'm going to go over. It's actually been bet down a little bit. So obviously some people disagree with me, but I'm happy to take the 236.5 after it went down from 238.5. I think what we saw before the break for both these teams, maybe a little bit of focus going down. I don't know that I don't think it's that easy to just come right back and just get back into the same focus that you had before you maybe kind of took your foot off the gas a little bit before the All-Star break, which is what we saw with a lot of teams coming into the All-Star break, sort of limping, including this Thunder team, and to a degree, this Clippers team, who wasn't the exact same in the last 2 or 3 before they came into this thing. And it really shows on defense for both these teams. For the Thunder in their last 5, 5th worst defensive rating, 5th best offensive rating, playing at that same about 101 pace. They've actually slowed it down a smidge, but the at home we know they want to play at about 101 pace. They score a $123 and a half or so. They give up about 118. So we're looking at a really high total in their home games here consistently, right? About 230, 236, 237 or so. And then on the road, it's just a few points less. The play slightly slower. So whenever I see these OKC numbers at home, I'm like, look, they're just going to go. And if you look at the Clippers, they are one of these teams that's very good. They're a top, let's call them top 6 team in the NBA. They're also a good team that is down to play at the same pace as the other team. They rarely seem to be the team that's just like consistently the one that's like, we're going to play at this pace, this style. They've got the opportunity, the players to play in the half court and the transition. And so it does seem like they're going to be ready to run with this Thunder team who loves to get out in transition at home, especially, and loves to keep the pace up. In the last couple, it's gone down, which has brought their home pace on the season down to about 100.7. But prior to that, prior to the last 5 games or so, where they were playing at a slightly slower pace, they're up at about 101 and a half. And it really came tumbling down with some slow games there at home. But now that everybody's healthy for them and J-Dub is back, I think that's also a part of this. Like, okay, our offense, the defense might get a little bit better, but the offense is only going to keep at the same pace that it's been at. The Clippers in their last 5, 4th worst defensive rating, 9th best offensive rating, right? And we saw their ability to sort of play in that style that James Harden, and even when Russ Westbrook and Terrence Mann are out there keeping the bench unit playing at a fast pace, you got James Harden keeping the offense at a wildly efficient pace as well. That 9th best defensive rating is down for them. Prior to the last 5, they were up at about 3rd best offensive rating, and prior to that, they were the best offensive rating for like a 10-game span that I still believe is going to really come right back, around the corner after this break here. And the last thing is just the recent matchups between these two teams, where they consistently go over, especially at OKC at the end of December. There we saw this season a 134 to 115 total in that game for these two teams. And even when they went back to LAC and played at the Clippers, and by the way, that was without Kawhi, who is definitely impactful on their defensive rating, but actually more impactful on their offensive rating for Kawhi and the splits that this team has when he's on off the court or just not even playing in any of these games. So with him back, and then also, like I said, when they played this last one, even at the Clippers, which is where the Thunder play a bit slower, score fewer points, that one still went comfortably over this number of 236 and a half. And like, I'm sort of banking on this coming back from the All-Star break, the malaise, if you will, being on defense a lot more so than on offense, where it takes guys a bit more to ramp back into the defensive conditioning rather than being able to shoot, right, and make shots.
Yeah, I don't know if there'll be defensive malaise. It's just that you're fresh. You're able to beat people off the dribble. You have your legs, whereas you don't think that like on a back-to-back tired legs, you're giving up points. It's more of a situation where the offense is fresh and they're able to do what they want. And you mentioned these last matchups, and SGA had a bad game. I mean, OKC was on a back-to-back. The game was played at a 91 and a half pace, and it still got to 245. And then the previous one, Kawhi did not play, and it got to 249. So, these guys are probably going to come out, score their efficient 30 or whatever, and probably, get you home here over this total. I'm going to go under in a Sacramento Kings home game, which I guess is scary, and it involves the Spurs. But let's restructure the way we think about the Spurs, who have gone under in 10 of 11 games before the All-Star break. And it's, unlocking Wemby, if you will, on offense to a degree after they just made perplexing decisions all season up until that point. But it also unlocks him defensively, right? Where he's becoming the most terrifying shot blocker in the league, and it's keeping the Spurs in games, but their offense is still so woeful that they have not been able to score enough to get games over. But defensively, they have the 8th best defensive rating in that span, allowing the 3rd fewest 3-point attempts. Chase guys off, let them run into Wemby, see what happens. Allowing the 3rd fewest free throw attempts, Wemby scaring shots, not fouling people. They are allowing a ton of pain points, but the Kings, I don't see as a team to be able to capitalize on that much. I mean, and their defense has been so good in their last 11, granted, because 10 of them were on the road before the break, but they're allowing the 4th fewest pain points in that span, limiting 3-point attempts. allowing high 3-point percentage because they played some great offenses. Like they played Denver twice, Suns and Thunder to close before the break. So I think that 3-point percentage is going to regress. Certainly when you have a Spurs team shooting 32% from three in their last 11, not getting to the free throw line, depending on pay points, which are not really going to be available against this renewed Kings team. And I mean, they're only over basically in this span was a back-to-back in Orlando where Wemby was only able to go 23 minutes. Now he's obviously fresh and, invigorated to play some defense. That's certainly going to help you out here. And look, if the Kings don't carry you over this total, I wouldn't expect the Spurs to do so. Their offense is still very much a work in progress. So give me the under.
Let's get it. Yeah, I don't have much on that one. I'm in Wemby camp though. Like I'm in. How do you want to bet on Wemby whenever you can? And in this one, like I do see him doing damage away from the rim a bit more on offense. On defense, yeah, it's like we have probably already the best shot blocker in the league on our team, and we've been playing him alongside a smaller center. Like, what are we doing here? Why is that so? Yeah, we're back in somebody. I don't know if it was they whispered in Pop's ear. I don't know if this was the plan the whole time that they were just going to bring him along slowly, which makes sense. But if ever there was an NBA ready superstar since the arrival of LeBron James, who already looked like he was 30 when he started playing the league, it's Victor Wembanyama. So I'm with the Wemby Blocka Flocka party that we're coming into here. So let me close it out with my Knickerbockers and talk about the New York team that lost 4 in a row here for the Knicks as they just limped into the All-Star break there. Could not have come soon enough for this team. Guys like Dante DiVincenzo needed to get some rest. We're still not going to see OG Anunoby. That's starting to scare me as a Knicks fan. We're still not going to see Julius Randle until probably March at this point as well. So like, there's some guys coming back, but more importantly, Jalen Brunson missed a game and was injured in those last 5 where they were just a really bad team before the break. Dante DiVincenzo as well. Bogey came back, missed one of the 2 games that he was eligible for when he played since he came to this team, right? And really, we've seen some Precious Achiuwa coming up because Isaiah Hartenstein has also missed a whole bunch of time as well. And that's actually only been good for Precious because I think he's actually like played himself into minutes now, even when Hartenstein is healthy, which he should be for this game. We still don't have that injury report, but like we were saying, like he was probably okay to play in the game before the All-Star break. It was just like, why would we play this dude right now? We just want to get into the break, get him like 10 days of rest, and we'll go from there. And that was the same case with Dante DiVincenzo as well. So I think the value here on the Knicks at a pick'em is obviously in huge part because they lost 4 in a row before they came into the break. And you look at those 4 that they lost, like we said, like Jalen Brunson was on half a leg against Houston and was barely able to play against Dallas. I don't remember if he made it into that game. I know they weren't even ever close in it at all. I just want to make sure I'm not wrong here. Yeah, he didn't even play in that game at all.
Yeah, he sat for Dallas.
Exactly. The Dallas game was the one that he missed all of. So like, yeah, with that in mind, now we come back to Philly. Philly looked all right, heading into the break themselves compared to what they were anyway. They did lose that Miami game, but it was pretty close. And they had that really crazy win over the Cavs. But here's their 2 wins. They beat the Cavs, who just clearly like seemed like they were just not playing at all in that game. That was a wild defensive effort from them at home. Total just letdown game, like not even a question for the Cavs. And then they beat the Wizards by 6. And by the way, the Wizards also, like the Spurs, like heavy, don't go too heavy handed on these overs for the Wizards nowadays. They've got some pretty good 3-point defense, some pretty good down low defense. Whatever. I'm just saying, like, don't just blindly start hitting Wizards and Spurs overs is the play here. But for this one too, like when we look at the reasons for the Knicks losing and some of the stats that they started giving up on defense, like, yeah, they've been a very bad defensive team over the course of the last 5 games. They've got the second worst defensive rating, but even over the last 10, right, they're at about 118 defensive rating, which is not Tibbs ball. And I don't know that that's necessarily going to get too much better with OG not playing and Bojan Bogdanovic playing, and Alec Burks, who's definitely a capable defender, getting a bit more time in there as well. But also with Dante DiVincenzo out, who was a huge problem for them, giving up threes with him out, has been one of their best 3-point defenders, probably their best perimeter defender this season so far, since obviously before OG came, and now he's pretty much the best defender everywhere, except for when Mitch Robb is down low. Like for the Knicks, though, like now they're relying a bit more on transition. They're relying a bit more on going to the rim all the way, not really pulling up. There's there's obviously still a lot of the ISO ball for them, still playing at a very high frequency in isolation, and still not necessarily assisting on a ton of shots, but they are assisting on 3-point shots now, which shows that there's a lot more kickouts. They were bottom 6 in terms of field goals assisted, that made field goals that were assisted from 3, and now they've shot that up to be about middle of the pack, which means that in this situation they are going a bit more, Jalen Brunson and spread, rather than like Jalen and Julius Randle being on the court needing to be on opposite sides. The spacing gets wonky sometimes for shooters who are on the opposite side of Jalen Brunson when he's playing, because Julius Randle's probably standing over there, to be honest with you, and now he's not, and that's created that space for more corner threes for guys like Josh Hart, which is another place that the 76ers have been super vulnerable. Really, it's everywhere, like threes and at the rim, right, is where you can really beat up on this Philly team. Since Joel went down, you can get some offensive boards as well. The Knicks are still a top 5 offensive rebounding team, or really the second best on the season and over their last 10, and just consistently getting a top 10 second chance points team. And now with the way that you've got the offensive rebound percentage for the opponent for Philly just skyrocketing, unsurprisingly, without Joel Embiid in there, they're a much worse rebounding team without JoJo in there. The other thing for the Knicks too is like they were going down the road of just giving up a ton of free throws over the course of the last like 10 games, 5 to 10 games. But like I said, missing a ton of Isaiah Hartenstein, who has grown into a legit rim protector. Precious Achiuwa now has come back in and started to increase their rebounding percentage as well. So I think the second chance points are going to be heavy for the Knicks, and really it's just not going to be a lot that Philly's going to be able to do to stop them outside of like hoping that they're missing shots, honestly. And I don't think that the Knicks will be missing them against this bad defense.
Yeah, the Knicks have lost 3 straight to NBA competition and 1 to the NBA officials. Let's remind you that they basically won a game in Houston that was ripped away from them with 12 to 36 free throw discrepancy. Yeah. But I think it's the Sixers being overvalued in this more than the Knicks. Like, what, they're not getting any points at home against a team that we now like recognize as one of the top 3 in the conference. That's going to at least get Hardenstein back. I think we know he's going to play. There's a slim outside chance Julius Randle will be back like within the week, maybe before the end of March. But I mean, the point is, DiVincenzo back. Bojan had to sit one. Jalen Brunson was limping. Like, they got everybody back here. They're going to bring the intensity, and the Sixers, their interior defense is very vulnerable without Joel Embiid, and that's the bottom line when you face a big team like the Knicks. Like, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah. The they're on the road here. It is in Philly, just to be clear, but like the Knicks have still been basically slightly above 500 in their last 15 games. Well, really, most of their games on the road here. So I'm not too worried about the venue, to be honest with you. It is like just crush them down low and hit a few threes, and you'll be fine. So that is all the time we have for you in this one, though. Continue to follow along, subscribe to that page, and continue to like the video if you would. Until we see you next, happy betting.